Today I have a new assistant because my regular assistant is working, but it doesn't really matter because today I'm just going to be talking a little bit about books. When I started to learn to read Thai in 2004, I didn't have a teacher. There were a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, I'm the type of person that's quite happy teaching myself. I don't really like fixed curriculums and having to learn things that I don't think are particularly relevant. I just like to find out what I need to know and then go and get that information. In the mid-90s, when I had an internet connection and most other people didn't, I wanted to learn how to create web pages. So I went out, bought some books on HTML, sat down at a computer and just taught myself. I find it's the quickest and most efficient way to learn things. The other reason was that there was no one to help me in Thailand. The Farangs I knew, I didn't know many, couldn't read and had no intention at all of learning to read. And although there are a lot of Thais around, Thais don't generally make very good teachers. And this has a lot to do with the way they're taught themselves. There's a lot of rote learning, a lot of memorisation, and the students in Thailand are quite passive. They just sit there, the teacher tells them something, they're expected to remember it, they don't ask questions, they're not expected to ask questions, and if they did ask questions, the teacher probably wouldn't know the answer. And this is what I found, that whenever I had a question and asked a Thai, I could never get the answer I needed. The answer was just, well, that's the way it is. And when you have a question, that's not the answer you want to hear. You want to know the real reason, not that's just the way it is. Because of this, I had to rely on books. But the problem when you don't understand a subject is that you don't have the knowledge to be able to determine whether a book is any good or not. I went to bookshops, I looked at books, I bought a lot on faith, hoping they would be good. But the reality was that most of them were complete dross. They were a waste of money and a waste of time. However, there were a few gems. Of all the books I've bought, probably 90% have been a waste of time and money, but just a few have been very, very good. And that was the purpose of making this video, so I could save other people the expense and time that I wasted. Why are these books so bad? And there are various reasons for this. A lot of the books are written by Thai authors. And because Thais obviously speak Thai, they seem to think they're in a good position to teach foreigners Thai, but that hasn't been my experience. To teach an English speaker Thai, you need to have a knowledge of English and Thai. And when you read the English sentences in these books, it's quite obvious that the authors have a very poor grasp of English. And the second reason, as I've mentioned countless times in the tutorials, is this business of transliteration. If you can't read Thai, and if you have no audio reference, the only thing you have is transliteration. This is a version of Thai words written in the English alphabet. And as I've told you many times already, this system is absolutely appalling. And if this doesn't work, you've got nothing else. So when a book tells you that to say hello, you say Sawadi crab, that the Thai word for 30 is Sam Sib, and etc, 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 then it's just a complete waste of time. I'm a person who really loves books, and when my children mistreat books, I get quite annoyed. But if it was cold in Thailand and I needed to make a fire to keep warm, I'd be happy using a lot of these books as firelighters. They are completely useless. Lonely Planet, that used to have a good reputation with travel and anything related to foreign countries, produced an equally useless phrasebook. It uses the same bad transliteration, and it tends to focus on subjects that would appeal to the typical Lonely Planet reader. There's a section on recreational drugs and phrases such as asking where to buy gay and lesbian magazines. But let's not focus too much on the dross. As I said at the start, there are a few gems. And if I could only choose one book, I would choose this one. This is David Smith's Teach Yourself Thai. David Smith is a lecturer at the well-known School of Oriental and African Studies in London, and it is a fantastic book. I've used it so much that there are now pages falling out. I've used it as a reference book for 15 years. It is virtually a perfect book, and I still have no criticisms of it. I wasn't too keen when I first got it, because as I started to read, he gets straight into the written Thai. And when I first got to Thailand, I paid for 20 lessons in like Thai conversation. And the girl asked me if I wanted to learn to read Thai as well. And I just thought it was too much all at once. I thought I'd learn to speak a little first and start to read. But that's actually the wrong approach. Because when you can't read, you are forced to use transliteration, and this system is just terrible. So the sooner you start learning to read, the better. And this is a really fantastic book, and I recommend it highly. Now, there's another good author, and her name is Benjawan Pumzan Becker. And these two books are actually quite close, but I don't really use this one because I use this one so much. But if I didn't have this one, I would use this one. This is also very good, and it concentrates quite a lot on written Thai as well, which is important. This volume is for beginners. She has one for intermediate learners, and she also has one for advanced readers. And she also produced some CDs. And when you're learning, it's quite important to have an audio reference so you can hear how Thai is spoken. So anything with David Smith's name on, or anything with Benjawan's name on, is worth having. These days, I use very few books. I still use David Smith's book. I use this little dictionary, which is really excellent. It's old. It was published in 1969, and I'm not sure now how difficult it might be to get hold of a copy. Robertson's Practical English Thai Dictionary. And for every word, he gives the tone. Now, I'm fairly comfortable with working out tones myself from the Thai spelling, but sometimes I do check in here. And if you're not as confident working out tones, this is a very useful resource. And the other thing I use these days quite a lot is a Thai to English dictionary. Also very useful. Apart from those books, I don't tend to use many others. Occasionally I use this one, Thai Reference Grammar, The Structure of Spoken Thai by James Higby and Sneha Tinson. James sent me an email a few years ago. He's a nice guy, and there's some very useful stuff in here on how to construct grammatically correct Thai sentences. Unfortunately, the transliteration system is bad once again, but by the time you're ready for a book like this, you should be speaking Thai quite well. So when I use it, I just ignore transliteration and read the Thai directly. When you publish a book about written Thai and need to use transliteration, you have two choices. You can either try to devise your own system, which is phonetically correct, or you can use the official system, which isn't very good. And it seems that James just chose to use the official system, and we've got bad transliteration. But as I said, once you're ready for a book like this, you shouldn't need to rely on transliteration. The other advantage with being able to read Thai is that you then have access to books written in Thai, and these are generally quite good. When Thai authors write books aimed at foreigners, they're normally not very good, but when they're written for a Thai audience, they are good. And the other thing is that they're a lot cheaper as well. In Thailand, everything aimed at foreigners is expensive, and everything aimed at Thais is cheap. For example, if you buy a best-selling novel in Thailand in English, it's expensive. If you buy the same novel that's been translated into Thai, it's a lot cheaper. Yet the translation must have cost money, and the extra Thai print run must have cost money. So really the book in Thai should be more expensive, but it's not. It's when something is aimed at Thais in Thailand, it's always cheaper. This book, for example, gives all the Thai words that begin with goro at and go at. And these little things are quite interesting, and you won't find versions in English. So just to summarise very quickly, if you're starting out, try to get hold of this one by David Smith. Highly recommended. If for some reason you can't get hold of this one, go for something by Benjuan Pumsan Becker. Once you get a little bit more confident reading Thai, get yourself a Thai English dictionary. And if you can find a copy of Robertson's Practical English Thai Dictionary, it's also very good. Now, there's probably some other decent stuff that I haven't come across, but most of the things I have come across are a complete waste of time and money. So don't waste your time, don't waste your money. Just go for these books. One more thing to add is that everything I said today about books nowadays applies to the online world. When I started to learn to read Thai back in 2004, there was no Wi-Fi. If you had an internet connection, it was hardwired. There were no smartphones, there was no Facebook, there was no social media. If you wanted to learn something and needed some resources, you went to buy a book. Nowadays, all Thais have got smartphones, they all use Wi-Fi, and if they want to learn something, they go to an online resource. But exactly the same things apply. There are some good online resources, but there is an awful lot of dross. So when you see different resources online, don't assume that they're all the same. There are some good ones, but there are some really bad ones. So be careful before you waste too much time. That just about wraps up what I have to say about books today. And as soon as my normal assistant returns to replace my cat assistant, I will see you again in the next tutorial.